Okay, media-centric societies, I believe our newspapers, our news channels, and all the other form of information we get from traditional news sources like that. Socio-centric, I think social media. You mean like Twitter, like Facebook, Instagram, on that sense. Like you get your news through WhatsApp along that lines. That's my view of the answer.
How important is social media to you?
Not in a sense that much. Like I don't use Facebook or Twitter or any other sense. Instagram I just use to take a stock of the world, like what is happening. I follow people, follow channels like that much. WhatsApp and all just to keep in touch with family and friends in that sense. Not that much.
So, given a scenario where your friends who live in a separate area or something, a very long distance, how do you interact with them? How has that changed for you? Does the media help or
Okay, so I did my degree and I had my degree friends, but they are all working or far away right now. So I use social media to keep in touch with them, but not as much. Like I don't chat with them every day or that sense. Every week once we all talk. But social media has given the opportunity for me to actually connect with them. Otherwise, I'm not in touch with my school friends in the same reason. Like we are like not that close, and none of us have established any social media contact with each other. So social media has helped us in keeping in touch with my friends who are like far off in that sense.
okay, do you think basically in general media or technology has helped human relationships or not?
It's twofold. It is not simple that social media helped 100%. Social media has hindered 100%. It has created opportunities for people to connect with people who they would have connected otherwise, like people from other countries, other districts, other areas. Even from their own city, like people who they never would have met otherwise. Social media allows them to connect. But in that sense, it also has reduced the amount of conversations that people have face to face, like on their like sitting with going out and talking with each other, sitting and talking with each other. Even friends, like nowadays they would rather chat with each other online or video call each other instead of actually physically meeting someplace or hanging out. So it's a net zero. Like it's positive, it's negative. You can't actually hold something and keep on that.
So I spend about 3 hours on social media. I think mostly I use Instagram and WhatsApp. Whenever I get really anxious, I use Instagram to calm myself, but that's obviously not useful. It's very temporary relief, but it's like you hiding away from your problems. Yeah. I think it's definitely helpful in maintaining relationships and friendships where you cannot meet each other, but it also is very harmful. It sets, unrealistic expectations of a relationship. I think one of the core things which is necessary for a relationship is adjustment of different personalities, and that is not promoted by social media. And it can give you a very superficial understanding of friendship where you can show a lot of love on text, and it can be very confusing for some people, and it can also create FOMO for the people who actually want to bond, but in reality this is not the way you bond. It's definitely not through social media. You should have a very strong core friendship which is created by interactions over time, and it should not, the foundation should not be from social media. So I personally do not feel pressurized to be online all the time, but it is very subjective. And I feel in this world it is necessary for networking. And I feel it can give a lot of FOMO in general because it tells you what is relevant in the world. And that obviously changes with time. But as of now, maybe dieting is very important, or traveling, and it can, everybody's life is not the same. Not everybody can diet, not everybody can travel, so it can give a lot of anxiety to people. So I don't think you should invest all your time on it, and you should realize that it is not good. If you know your own limits, if you know what is good and what is bad, I think you can still engage, but you should be aware and not let it affect your self-esteem and your confidence and your happiness in general. Yeah.
The answer is not black or white, it's gray. Yes, definitely way more informed. Everyone is way more informed. But then the question arises, what are they informed about? Is that even the correct, is it fact checked, verified, vetted news? Or is it just a narrative set by, people with money, power, influence? That is a question which needs to be thought about. That is point number one. Uh, Point number two is definitely distracted. We as a like this current generation, especially the Gen Zs, even the millennials, we are way more distracted than let's say 15 years back, 10 years back, because every time we are sitting idle, we are thinking, oh, is there something that we can be doing which will be better than what we are doing now, right? And this never used to be the case, say a couple of decades back or even 1 decade back, where people were just happy to just be, just spend their time doing nothing and being content with whichever space they were in. Whereas now it's almost a question of, um, I mean, is there something potentially that I should be doing which will benefit me more at this point in time? And that leads to a lot of impatience, distraction. I see a lot of youngsters just doing this, like basically scrolling mindlessly. And if you stop them, like, and ask them, what are you doing? They're clueless, really, because it's just like it's mind numbing. So yeah, so both the two sides of the same coin. The way I would look at it is, I would talk about it in terms of human connections, where earlier we were one big community, and the interpersonal dynamics used to be way better. Whereas now, in this world of new media and apps and this doom scrolling, people are literally lost in their own devices and not really looking up, not really caring about the outside world, not really even willing to talk to strangers, forget about their own family or, whatever extended community. Not even willing to talk to strangers, not even willing to get to know someone new with a fresh perspective, and just kind of lost in consuming mindless content which is tailored to what they are already consuming. So which basically means that they're kind of stuck in some kind of a vicious cycle, where the more they consume a specific kind of content, the more algorithms end up serving that content for them. So even from a point of view of them getting a fresh perspective or a new take on things, they never really, they are, so it's basically echo chambers, if I can put it like that. So it's the same, your beliefs, your notions, your biases are just getting strengthened, is what I believe the world we live in. And with the advent of AI, again, somewhere, creativity in the traditional world that you are talking about, uh, art had a meaning, creativity had a meaning, because it was the human brain with its flaws and with its whatever limited capacity. It was still the human brain fleshing out those ideas and expressing themselves, whereas it is now just a machine which is fed with tons of data, potentially churning out stuff in within seconds, which again to me is a massive shift, because yes, the in many industries it's leading to a lot of efficiencies in time and money and resources, but overall when it comes to our brains thinking power and how we are evolving as a race, I think some big question marks there as to what kind of dystopian future we are headed towards. So it really depends. I am a millennial. I have grown up watching a lot of television. So it really depends where I am. If I'm at home, in my comfort zone, and if the television is switched on, we do end up consuming a lot of news through some of the mainstream television news channels. But given my education and what I've studied in my masters, I do understand that I do end up consuming news from different sources, so which includes online news organizations. It includes a lot of print publications, not your mainstream print publication. These are niche print publications who do in-depth, long-form stories on different news. Because that I feel gives me a holistic perspective of things and basically um, opens up my mind. And sometimes some of these stories go against the larger media narratives being set by these huge organizations with a lot of money and political influence. So to me, that balance between new media, independent media, actually let me put it that way, independent media, uh, a balance between that and obviously the mainstream media, some of the apps and even the news channels. For me, striking that balance is key. And also, then if we go one layer deeper, who are the individuals? So some of the um, individual reporters now have a massive presence on, say, an Instagram or a YouTube. The one name that comes to mind is Faye D'Souza. So, yeah, so sources like these where news for a change is just news, right? There are no personal opinions and beliefs that come with it. I think that to me appeals a lot at the stage where I am in terms of news consumption.
Due to COVID 19, there have been significant changes to the entire world. Many of these changes have either directly or indirectly influenced the shift from socio-centric to media-centric society. One of these factors is the rise of digital religious activities. Digital religion has become one of the mainstream activities, leading to many debates whether digital faith can replace physical worship. Traditionally, religious practices have been an in-person activity, requiring live attendance at the places of worship like temples, mosques, and churches. The sense of togetherness, shared rituals, and face-to-face interaction was essential for communal development and human relationships. With the rise of digital worship, faith has become an individual experience rather than a community-based one. For example, live-streamed sermons and worship services on YouTube, Facebook, and Zoom. Religious apps for prayers, confessions, and meditation. Islamic online fatwa services. Hindu temples streaming pujas and offering virtual darshans where people can watch rituals live from home. In conclusion, the digitalization of religion represents a fundamental shift from traditional community-based worship to individualized, media-driven faith experiences. The global religious outreach has expanded and it has made spiritual practices more accessible to the elderly and the disabled. We cannot deny the loss of community, bonding, and the loss of traditional social values.